Do you like it?
I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Welcome to simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series. It's another wildcard round. It means the GT3s and GT4s are in the shed and something a little different is out on track for this round 5 at Road America, Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. It all has to start here with the second division Pass 2. They're all in the Audi 90 GTO, an 80s style car with a lot of turbo, a lot of attitude, hopefully some exciting racing. So we've got all of that to look forward to and more on Sim Speed tonight for simrigs.com Oz Pro Am Sim Series. David Haynes here, joined by Jay Kennedy. Jay, we love this championship. We love the racing. And we do love when they get into something a little wild.
We definitely do. It's been very, very fun in the past and looking forward to seeing it again. Hello, everybody. The Audi has been probably my favorite addition to the series when we've run it in the wild cards. It's always been a wild race, and wild is the appropriate term. Of course, this weekend, doubling up a special event for iRacing, the Road America 500. So these cars getting a little bit of a workout on the sim this weekend. So great way to practice if you're going to race the official racing this weekend as well. So this is going to be absolutely entertaining, especially when we get into the Pro-Ams with both classes as well. So Pass 2 just in the Audi, but when we get into Pro-Am with both the Nissan and the Audi, it's going to be absolutely crazy.
Absolutely, and it is such a great track with some long straights for all of our turbocharged cars to get into their boost, really carry a lot of speed towards what are then challenging braking zones with no ABS in these old style race cars. Here's where it is. It's due north of Chicago. Up there at Elkhart Lake, Wisconsin. Back in the history, they used to race on sort of the highways as a classic style street circuit around this area. This, a more permanent facility, has been around since 1955. It says layout unchanged, and that's how you know it's a good racetrack. If it's stuck around unchanged through all of that time, many great characteristics to it, like that big uphill that starts the pit straight, the very long run from turn 3 to turn 5, the very weird corner numbers, the cheese and the sausage bridge, of course, the carousel kink, and the fast back straight through the trees towards Canada Corner. Lots of places for action, lots of places for passing. I suspect the most excitement will happen at turn 5, though, as you break downhill there. It's a massively extended braking zone, challenging as the descent of the hill makes the cars want to run on as they approach at high speed.
Yeah, I think that's probably the key overtaking opportunity. Obviously, turn 1 as well. I'm going to say, how wild is turn 2, though, on this track? It's just incredible. You blink and you literally miss it.
Yeah.
But one thing I was going to say, you're talking about how you know that a track's good when the layout hasn't changed. The other thing, too, is that a track has corner names and not numbers. So we don't really call turn 1, turn 2, turn 3 by their numbering system. We just sort of call them turn 1 and turn whatever, but most of the corners actually having names show that this is a real epic track with a lot of history.
Yeah, absolutely it is, and very, very well suited to these style of cars. Let's look at
That's the wrong graphic. Let's try that
Pass
again.
2 championship, I was going to say, and indeed in a second we will.
Maybe I don't have it. Maybe I've made boo-boo and haven't rendered the right graphic. Let me try and fix that.
Okay, I'll twiddle my thumbs, but in the meantime, the drivers are qualifying for the 2 races
Found
up
it.
ahead of them. This is the championship standings. Things are looking good for Sam Muir up top. then how close do you want it between Seth Brown, Hilton Booth, and Sean Lacey? And then follows Jacques Swanepoel, Stuart Brown, Simon Mizomo, Adam Hillmotion, Mark Cochran, and Paul Longworth as the top 10 in this championship after 4 rounds. Of course, a lot can happen in this wildcard round, and then they're back into their GT4 cars in Pass 2 for the remainder of this season. Hey, maybe you've got that graphic too.
That other graphic we were talking about. The one you want?
No, schedule.
Oh yeah, I've got that. I can do that. Just look, how prepared are we? We're all over the shop tonight. But I think that's the one you wanted.
Yeah, indeed. That shows Road America at round 5, and then it's the last wildcard round of the championship because Pass 2 goes back to their balance of performance GT4s for sprint, enduro, sprint at Manicourt, Hockenheim, Nürburgring 24-hour layout, Gesamtstrecke, as I love to say, Belle Isle, and Barcelona. So plenty still to happen in the back half of this 10-round series. Very interesting cars that we have for an 80s style of racing that had just so much character. A little bit of technology going on. Maybe not as refined as we're used to from customer racing cars these days. Instantly you notice the big wide body on them. It's the most challenging and entertaining one is what's at the heart of that 5-cylinder inline engine. 110 horsepower to deliver especially smoothly. That does propel these cars very well out of the corners with their 4-wheel drive and then down the long straights.
These are amazing beasts, aren't they? Just the whistle when they go off throttle is incredible. It's always a blast to see these cars at full speed. I love watching them out on track, so it's going to be very, very fun. Qualifying at the moment has not been as close as we may see when we're running the GT4, but obviously these machines are a little bit different to what most of the guys out there on track are used to, so no huge surprise there.
No, taking a look, and yeah, Richard Mayer on top at the moment. A couple of purple sections actually in that last lap to his name. Looking good for him with 0.6 of a second. The championship leader there in 3rd. He's flying along. Swanepoel and Sean Lacey 4th and 5th. Mikael Turkin might be putting together or just put together a reasonable lap as well. Jason Bentz is about to start a flying lap, methinks.
Of course, the hard cut at qualifying, so the timer hits 0. That's the end of your run. You can't do any more laps. Drivers are aware of that now. They've worked it all out and understand that you can't push on, continue going. It's been a bit of a learning curve for a few drivers, but now that most of them have worked that out, it's changed the way that drivers strategize these sessions a little bit.
You can see that getting around in lap times just over 2 minutes. So yeah, 2 more flying laps here out of Jason Bentz. And there's a couple of drivers maybe getting to the line right now who'll still have 2 more flying laps. Looking good for Jason Bentz so far. I think he's up on his best lap to the moment.
This lap's looked very, very smooth, hasn't it? It hasn't been amazing, but it's definitely been very, very smooth and looking rather composed in this.
Lost about 0.2 to his best though in the section from sort of turn 5 and then up towards the hurry down. So we'll see if this continues to just be a building lap. And I think it understeered something pretty ridiculous through the kink there, which I think that's what that steering input there down the straight means. Pardon me, that kink is pretty well flat out in a lot of GT3 cars and other things, but not in something like this. It needs a little more coaxing to make turn.
Need a little bit more finesse with this thing, don't you? You can't just throw it in like you would a GT3. Pat Gallo goes up a couple of spots there, up into 5th position. Nice lap.
Like, it does have grip. It's just not...
Not when it's under full power.
No, it's not as consistent or as easy to lean into as a modern GT3 car. It needs a little bit more to get it into that grip window, to get it with just enough slip angle in, and then managing that through the corner, rather than it just being like, yeah, your first instinct is the right one in a GT3, typically the way that they're engineered. Sean Lacey using a good chunk of the track in the final corner there, shooting a good few flames as well, and then it's just all about the horsepower up the hill and then into sight of Barney, who is very firmly cantilevered out there.
To 4th for Lacey, so not a bad lap there in the end. Done a very, very nice job. Just noticing Sam Muir's lap here doesn't look too bad, so we'll see what this is when he crosses the line, but I think this could be a little bit of a jump up the timing sheet for him as well.
Yeah, so at the final sector for the championship leader in Pass 2, and this will be his last lap, because look at that. He needs about 2 minutes 10 to do another lap, and there's only 2 minutes left on the clock. So that will be the last lap of qualifying for Sam Muir. And it does just improve a little bit. Swanepoel's on a real hot one here, by the way. It's all personal bests and purples so far on this lap, though he's a little wide of the apex in the final corner. What he does have is a slipstream off a teammate in front of him that might help in this run from turn 5 up towards the line. And for Swanepoel, looking to improve on an 08.1, he goes to an 07.1, finds a whole second and moves up to the second row of the grid.
So Cardellone jumping up the timing sheet there too, up into 5th position. Perkin up into 9th, so a little bit of shuffling right at the end here. Adam Hill motion, crosses the line, no improvement on his lap. Anyone else that might do something here on the timing sheet? Bentz could improve, but
no, he's
I think
3 seconds down.
Yeah, he is.
Or a couple sectors that were well off where he ought to be. The 007, of course, is always Hilton Booth in an Aston Martin when it's GT4s. Yeah, you could see James Bond in an Audi 90 Quattro GTO.
I'd see him in that over running the Nissan, this class of car.
The name's Quattro. Audi Quattro. Yeah.
You like his car shaken, not stirred?
I was trying to think of something maybe a little more intellectual, for that, but yeah, maybe.
Yeah, I couldn't think of anything. I just went for it. I'm actually
okay. Well, when I couldn't think of anything clever, I didn't open my mouth, Jay.
Thank you.
More than welcome. Most drivers obviously complete in their qualifying now with just the 10 seconds left on it, and definitely saw drivers still coming to grips with this car, with the way it behaves, with the turbo lag, with the 4-wheel drive, the torque steer, the understeer, all of that, as they continue through qualifying, still getting more and more comfortable with this car and with this circuit. Forward then to the racing and looking at how they are going to grid up for the first of their 2 races, which is a 10-minute race, and then we get a 20-minute feature race with an inverted top 10. So starting on that front row, Richard Mayer and Jason Bentz. Good performance from Frog Leap Juice, because just as they were in qualifying, Jacques Swanepoel is right behind his teammate in the starting formation. And Sam Muir will then be from 4th place in that second row of the grid. Great combination of liveries on this row here with Matthew Cardellone in the typical sort of 90s, 2000s touring car livery. Real Frank Bieler vibes there. Looks good. He starts out of 5th. Sean Lacey really embracing the Americana and looking dangerous and aggressive doing it, starting out of 6th. Larry Perkins Gallo maybe in 7th place. Sam Batty 8th place in the Drop Bear Audi. And that top 10's completed by Mikhail Turkin and Stu Brown, again embracing the Americana of this circuit, of the style of racing, and of this car. Brady Buchanan starts 11th, and Hilton Booth starts 12th. And Paul Longworth. Is there a fast food brand that they haven't ticked off yet? Those guys, because we remember what they ran last week was a bit of the fried chicken. Now it's a bit of the Mexican stuff. And Mark Cochran is 14th. And there's Adam Hill Motion and Matt Hardigan 15th, 16th on this grid. And I think some last drivers with qualifying times. Reese Ashmore and Aaron Maguire. And they're all out on their formation lap. And it's the National Park of Speed. And they are getting a great tour of it. Getting ready for this 10-minute race 1, 20-minute race 2. You know what else you find in American national parks, Jay?
Cheese bridges?
Bears.
Bears? He's telling me I should be doing this about now?
Oh, look at him. Yeah, no bears on track, though, just race cars in this National Park of Speed.
For those wondering what that is your bear.
Yeah.
Probably should explain that, just so that people don't think we're showing a random teddy bear of some sort on TV, on screen.
Got really embracing the Audi Quattro rally heritage there for Cardellone. He was either doing it intentionally or momentarily distracted by the wondrous bridge of cheese. And they're known for their cheese up in this corner of the US Midwest. They're known for their real cheese as well, which is very, very commendable.
I'm just confused by what the difference is between real and fake cheese.
Well,
or is the fake cheese the other stuff that comes out of the can that they use in America?
Yeah. If you eat cheese anywhere else but, Wisconsin, Minnesota, whatever, you'll be yearning for what they produce out of this fine state. I'm just saying, if your cheese can be dispensed out of a pressurized metal can, that's, no quality Parmesan is coming out of a pressurized metal can. There's Stu Brown. He's got the PlayStation 1 and the Nintendo Entertainment System back there. Note, I said PlayStation. Well, I should have just said PlayStation, not PlayStation 1.
The OG.
Yeah, I had one until the laser caddy broke.
I had one until I got a mod done in it, and then it stopped working.
Favorite game? Because F1 97 was pretty decent.
Yeah, F1 97 and the original Gran Turismo. Although Gran Turismo 2 was good because you could do a scratch and sniff on the disc and it smelt like a pit lane.
Ooh. Very interesting. I had a couple of the F1 games of that era. And, I love a good F1 career mode. It's one where you started with an amount of money and then you could buy your way into the better teams or something.
The
might have
repetitive commentary of Murray Walker on that game too. Absolutely loved it.
I might be thinking 99 or 2000 or 2001 or something, but they were great of their era.
And to think that the graphics were so amazing back then. You look at them now, you think, how do we ever think that was incredible and lifelike?
It was fun. Pace car's in just 10 minutes for this race, so I'd think 5 laps. Would you think 5 laps?
It has to be 5. Can't see them doing any more.
The drivers starting in the back end of this field, they'll be very eager to get forward because your top 10 inverts. If you can finish in 10th, you'll start on pole for race 2. Already some aggression off that race start. It looks like Sam Batty might have missed a gear or been muscled off the road by Matthew Cardellano, who was switching lanes, trying to gain as many positions as he could early on in this race. Jason Bentz has gone from the outside of the front row to lead this one, but Richard Mayer wants that back. Sam Muir, also a good start from that outside lane, up into 3rd and challenging up front.
Clean start, which is great to see. Got away. There's a little bit of got a missed gear there for Bentz because he's just let Richard Mayer straight on by. Mir takes the lead away.
Your graphics said it, they are a 5-speed H pattern. It's possible to miss a shift. There's not really any assistance as far as getting it into the gears, as far as, automatic downshifts or anything like that. A little bit of chaos already at turn 5, at the very tail end of the field with, I think, Aaron Maguire. But this is looking backwards from the leader. A lot of flames in his mirror. Long braking distances in this car, and then again, doesn't always want to turn in aggressively on the start. Catalone in the grass again, nose burst into the tyres. Straight to the Alt and the F4 key. I think for him, that car disappearing out of this race very, very early on, and it opens up a bit of space now between your top 3 as they blast through the kink. And then Sean Lacey's under pressure immediately from Jacques Swanepoel on the straight towards Canada corner.
Yeah, Lacey's going to feel the pressure coming into the braking zone. Also seeing that Stuart Brown and Brady Buchanan side by side at the back of the shot there. But here we go, Swanepoel just making sure he got those shifts perfect. And saying that, you can get the shift perfect at exit, and that's wall. These cars are tough though.
Massively wide track, but that front left does look a little bent in already. The lack of ABS, the long braking distances are challenging these drivers. 1 lap completed out in the grass for Jason Bentz. Sam Muir has the opportunity then to close in on him towards turn 1. Well, a lot of drivers really getting hands-on with nature.
A lot of drivers pushing pretty hard, aren't there? It's great to see that the limits are well and truly being tested and tried right now, but I think some drivers will probably be regretting pushing quite as hard as they are. I just saw Kirkin off the circuit at the start-finish line around turn 1, so we're going to look at that in a sec. But other than the incident for Cardellone, we said that Maguire had a little bit of a whoopsie. For the most part, that's a relatively clean lap 1.
Yeah, and Bentz found a little bit more speed to get closer to the leader. Didn't seem as confident with braking and picking up the throttle in turn 5. This is Turkin towards turn 1 in the blue car. Down the inside. Too ambitious. Tries to stomp all the brakes, locks them up, overshoots turn 1.
Very lucky that that didn't end up in the wall or taking out another car, so he's done very, very well to make sure that there was no contact. The front 3 have well and truly checked out now, and Lacey's coming with them. Pat Gallo not able to hold on, but he's leading a big group of cars. Buchanan, Brown, Batty all together here.
Yep, you saw Gallo struggling with the kink somewhat. How many times have we seen cars run wide there, get just a little bit of grass, and then pinball off the walls in that wooded section towards Canada corner? And many times is the answer, but Gallo's managed to gather it all back up once again, and you can see this conga line of cars behind.
Swanepoel, on his redemption, he could get a position of Matt Hardigan on turn 1, maybe turn 5, but I think turn 1's a possibility here. Maybe not.
Definitely the driver in most close proximity to try to fight. He's got a bit of damage on the car. Hardigan just a tad wide. Means he's slow picking up the power, and suddenly Swanepoel in a position to try to attack. Went to the right-hand side of the circuit, which will be the outside as they break down in towards turn number 5. I think Hardigan's decided he's going to let that one be. Whoa, look at the rear bias for Swanepoel as he breaks into the corner there. And somehow he holds on to that one.
I don't know how he's held onto that. That's the incredible bit of driving to actually hold onto that spot. He should have looped it around and found himself facing the wrong way. Just saw that, you see there, that's Bentz applying a little bit of pressure here to Mayer. Now, Mayer's had a very consistent run all season long, but Bentz is really fighting with him here. I love the flames on these cars as they change through the gears, though. How cool is it?
Yeah, it's pretty good. Mainly out the right side of the cars, but Bent's really with the pressure on Mare as they went through the carousel. Interesting place to, shape to make a move. Again, one of those places drivers can take different lines, be it just to hug the inside all the way around or to go for a late apex and try to diamond it into a double apex. And Bent's was just trying to do something else, trying to stay close, and he's really heating it up on Richard Mare here. And they're going to have just 2 laps to go once they come out of the final corner. Bent's not afraid of the grass, so we've seen.
Definitely pushing it hard right now, and as you said, 2 to go, so still plenty of racing left. Still, 12 odd kilometers of racing left in this one, so plenty of opportunities to get a move done, and we've seen how easy it is to make errors as well, so going to be a great fight all the way to the end. Hey, he's looking strong. He's Stuart Brown. He's going to get a move done, and Brady Buchanan goes, yeah, go on by. You can have that spot.
Yeah, here he comes. Brown now into 6th. Qualified 10th. Up front, the pressure is definitely on Richard Mare, and he's got mirrors full of Jason Bentz. Nearly bumper to bumper as they go into the braking zone of 5. Bentz pushes out a little bit wide.
Tell Bentz is pushing hard right now.
Definitely looked good through the carousel here on the previous lap. Like, he'd worked out how to make this car rotate with a little bit of throttle in it, which otherwise would send a little bit too much power to the front wheels, make it want to push on once you get to the throttle. Makes this car pretty good with the short, sharp corners and the traction off the corners. In the long corners like that with a little bit of sustained throttle. A car that really wants to keep turning. Bentz has still got the fastest lap of the race at the moment, so he's got a lot of speed. Mare driving a little defensively in places, and it is a wide car. And you can tell who shifts gears when and where based on the flames. Got one last lap, 0.3 of a second between the leaders. One more lap of Road America for this heat race. Where do you see Bentz lining it up other than turn 5 maybe? Canada corner?
Yeah, I think Canada, he looks okay there, but he just hasn't quite got the run through the kink that we've seen from Mare. He's just giving up a little bit of time. Gaining time through the carousel, but you're just losing it straight back. So I think if you can get that run through the kink, Canada corner is well and truly on. I don't think he's close enough here because he's lost so much ground at the exit. Turn 3. I see Matt Hardigan's having an issue at turn 1 as well, unfortunately.
Went out wide and hit the wall, did Matt Hardigan. Bentz still looking, still sniffing. A little bit of oversteer there. Not afraid of the track limits on corner exit either. Good one for the Kinks, the best opportunity for him. This is Hardigan in the middle of it here.
Broke himself.
Yeah.
Decided wall was a better option than taking out someone else, which is great to see as Bentz. Wow, look at the momentum he had through the carousel, but he can't use it to his advantage. Nowhere to go.
I wonder if Bentz isn't using a H-pattern shifter because he always just seems to lose out a little bit in the straights, but Mare runs it off the road at the kink there and immediately has to come across to try to cover the inside for Canada corner. It leaves Jason Bentz just one chance, which is to go around the outside, and it doesn't work out for him.
It's been a great drive from Richard Mare to hold on. If you can hold on one more corner, that is absolutely brilliant from the amount of pressure he's had behind.
You get quicker shifts in a H-pattern car using a H-pattern than you will mapping flappy paddles to it, and there's just times that it looks like Bence gets a great run and it just stalls out a little bit across the gear shifts, and Richard Mayer is able to hold on to the win. And Bence, there's Sam Muir, not going to be too disappointed with third place. Mason Gallo, Brown, Buchanan, Batty, you see coming up the hill to the checkered flag on this one.
Brown, Buchanan, Batty, the order that they finish in that group. But that was a fantastic race at the front. Well done to Sam Muir as well for holding on to third in the end there. He was able to stick with these guys, apply a little bit of pressure. Not quite enough to well and truly be involved in the fight, but definitely was there close enough to know that they can't get as good a start this time. Will be in contention at the end.
Good race for a couple of drivers. Richard Mayer converts his pole position to a win. And pretty happy with how he drove, I think, because he just wasn't flustered by the pressure from Jason Bence. Sam Muir, Sean Lacey, and Pat Gallo follow behind. Stuart Brown, one of the bigger movers inside of the top 10, going from 10th to 6th. Buchanan from 11th on the grid to 7th. Batty 8th to 8th. Jacques Swanepoel dropping back from 3rd on the grid to that 9th place finish. But good story for Hilton Booth there, who's come from 12th on the grid to finish 10th. Now heading into a top 10 invert race. That means he's going to have pole for race 2, and everyone behind him starts where they finished. Paul Longworth, Mikael Turkin, Adam Hillmotion, Mark Cochran, Reese Ashmore, Matt Hardigan, and Aaron Maguire. Don't think we're going to see any more Matthew Cardellone at Road America. What we are going to see is one more race from Pass 2, though. In just a couple of minutes' time, their 20-minute race comes up in these Audi 90 GTOs. Our thanks go to the partners for Oz Pro-Am Sim Series this season, simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Super Cheap Auto, who've got a couple of gift vouchers we've got to give out later on. Got to keep that in mind. Thanks to them. And Chuka Toyota Index Designs. Stick with us because we're minutes away from race 2 of Pass 2.
So you do like it? I love it, yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
And we're back and we're ready for this second race of Pass 2. Of course, with more racing after that with the Pro-Am Sim Series, with the Audi 90 GTO and the Camel Imsa Nissan prototype, which is even more mental with even more horsepower and even more turbo lag. And more turbo whistle to go along with it. So still plenty of racing coming tonight. But for these Pass 2 drivers, they're gearing up for their feature race, which will be 20 minutes, which therefore likely will be 10 laps, but with a pit stop somewhere in there. Of course, in the 1980s, every turbocharged car was pretty thirsty. There's a 25% fuel limit on these cars, if I read correctly.
One thing you forgot about with the Nissan is the beautiful 80s aero that it has too, with the sleek design that was very, very unique at that era. Lots of triangle shapes in the car.
It's got what some F1 cars of the era had, where there's little air intakes sticking up that feed directly into the turbo.
Some weird angles that you'd look at and go, yeah, there's no way that would work. But it actually didn't provide... it provided enough aero that it was noticeable. So that'll be interesting when we get into it in a few minutes' time.
I mean, when you've got 900 horsepower, your downforce doesn't need to be ludicrously efficient. You just need to have some.
Some's enough, isn't it?
It's better than none with that much horsepower. Otherwise, you're just wasting it. So let's get ready. Take a look at what the grid's going to be like after that top 10 reverse. Like we said, it gives Hilton Booth the pole position, and he starts on that front row with Jacques Swanepoel. We saw the outside row, the outside lane got some very good starts in race 1. So maybe we'll see that again. That's the even numbered slots. With, drivers starting in that lane being Swanepoel, Buchanan, and Pat Gallo. Then we get towards the tail of that top 10 with Sean Lacey, Sam Muir, Jason Bentz, and Richard Mayer. And then Longworth, Turkin, Adam Hillmotion, Mark Cochran, Reese Ashmore, Matt Hardigan, and Aaron Maguire.
One thing I'm excited to see in this race is how those guys that did finish at the pointy end in the last race, how they actually go progressing through the field and making overtakes, because we didn't see a huge number of overtakes. Now that they've been pushed back in the field, how will they go trying to make moves?
What we definitely saw a couple times was drivers bite off a little much, lock up a tire, and end up well off the track. So it wasn't easy to make a big aggressive lunge of a pass.
Great to see your handiwork being put to use during the ad break we just had as well. And a friend on the couch to watch the racing.
Yeah, I looked. I can't find why that's out of focus, but whatevs.
Still enjoying the action though, isn't he?
He's chilling. He's loving it.
Big fan.
So, I think a couple drivers didn't actually end up on the grid for this second race.
Yeah, Jason Bentz has missed the start, so if he makes it into the race, we'll start from pit lane. So that's going to hurt him and his progression through the field. Because P2 finish in race 1, don't really want to have a did not start next to your name in race 2.
Yeah, and I'm seeing something for Longworth, Turkin, and Hill Motion as well, sort of in the middle of the field. Longworth and Hill Motion have turned good on my timing screen, but I think we might not have Turkin.
Correct.
Oh, yeah, there he is.
Notice there that the guy's struggling to keep it side by side too wide through some of the segments on the track. This track in some spots does get a little bit narrow, but these cars, as you said before, these cars are so wide, they're so flared. I mean, they were wide cars anyway, but the flared bodywork just makes them so beefy, and it almost puts the BMW to shame for being a big boy. I did say almost.
Yeah, real Arnie muscles of the 80s.
I can confirm that Jason Bentz will not take to the grid in this race. So Bentz, after a second, and a really well fought second, he's done for the night.
Yeah, I think you can see on the 5th row where that vacant spot is where he would be. And then I think you can see vacant on the front row where...
Perkins should have started 12th.
Yeah.
So
Oh, okay. Jack Swanepoel was hanging back, and now he's caught up to be more alongside Hilton Booth.
I think he was just making sure that he didn't make contact when they were going side by side, and now he's starting to get himself back into formation. Just a reminder of the rules with AusPass, you cannot go until the green and you have to be formed up. So drivers have to be very, very careful in the start formation. We've seen plenty of penalties this season for drivers not starting in the correct way.
Good looking rows there. Safety car pulls into that pit entry, which is uphill, and you're blind of where the start of the pit lane speed limit is. Tuck that little bit of information away for later. It's a good looking grid heading up the hill towards Barney, where he's got the flag up, and it drops now. We get racing, and again, some good jumps from drivers a little deeper in the field there. Sam Batty immediately almost looking for the race lead from that 2nd row. Swanepoel did get just a little caught out. Stuart Brown off the road on the grass. Oh. Friendly fire.
If you're going to end up blocking anyone, better to be a teammate than to be someone else. So a bit of driving there. Mayor trying to make positions, not able to. Jacques Swanepoel also losing ground here. So this has been an interesting start to the race.
Absolutely, and now heading down towards turn 5, jockeying for position. Brakes are super challenging on this car without ABS, with only a manual adjustment to the brake bias as well. Up the hill we go. Sam Batty leading from Hilton Booth now, but it's Gallo, Buchanan, Lacey, Swanepoel here where all the action appears to be.
I think they've done pretty well to get away as they have. Sam Batty's just checked out at the front. Hilton Booth trying to go with him, but the rest of the field just haven't been able to match the guys at the front.
At least not at this point off this race start with a track temperature of 35 Celsius, but they've got a little bit more to think about in this race because there will be a pit stop for fuel somewhere in and amongst it all. So they've got to think a little more about their fuel usage, about their tyre usage in this longer race. Someone's moving. Buchanan may be under a bit of fire.
He's just lost a spot there to Sean Lacey, so Buchanan drops back to 5th, and now he's under big pressure from Jacques Swanepoel.
He is. In that final corner. A bit of extra page runoff on the exit and not using. That's 1 lap complete, and a great opening lap from Sam Batty to get from 3rd on the grid to leading this one.
Sorry, Stu. I'll pay for that one later, I think.
Not sure of it. Let's have a looky here. This is Lacey. As he got to the inside at Canada corner.
That's a nice move.
On Brady Buchanan, yeah, it is. This is our race lead, though, and they're now side by side through turn 4, if you will. And I won't. To turn 5, where Batty still has the inside and then just breezes across a little bit on
Gallo.
Booth. Gallo will have a bit of a nibble at it. Saw the car still understeering as he got past the exit. They bump wheels, so easily done, and Gallo forces his way through. Lacey can't, and it's a traffic jam here as they slow each other up through this section of corners.
And look at the group that's now behind Lacey too. So you've got Swanepoel, Mayer, Buchanan, and Muir all together. There's another spot down for Hilton Booth, so he's losing ground very, very quickly as Richard Mayer threw on his teammate Jacques Swanpool. Is he doing a little bit of teammate protection of the championship lead here?
Real tight group of racing cars through the carousel and towards the kink here. As you can see, Sam Muir in purple just watching on as they all navigate to that treacherous part of the track, and maybe another move or two could get sprung down into Canada corner. Definitely see Richard Mayer shaping up for it on Hilton Booth. He's not close enough, but Booth runs wide and will really, really pay for that.
Billy's dropped all the way back to 8th, so from starting right at the front back to 8th, Sam Batty hasn't been able to check out as much as he would have liked. He would have liked to have got that out to about 2.5 seconds. He's only got 1 and a bit. He'll probably get chased down very, very quickly. There's been a little bit of a cluster of cars coming together back in the field. We'll get a quick look before we come back to these guys battling live. But this is Mark Cochran. He's made a little bit of an error here at turn 5. The rejoin, not bad. And you see at the back there, that's Aaron Maguire, the last car. He goes for a big dive up the inside and then goes, oh no. Friendly fire between teammates. Both Maguire and Ashmore make contact.
Again, various times we've seen drivers get super ambitious and lock them up. He gets a lot of time lost.
I don't see a slowdown. I think he's just been unable to change gears.
Now Lacey gains a spot as Swanepoel runs off deep at turn 5 as well. Swanepoel back on the road, losing a few little spots. Sam Muir suddenly up into 5th where he was 8th not long ago. Not happening quickly. Look. Oh, what happened?
Back down the gear's okay. He can't get it in gear. Look, it's just revving, but he can't get it in gear. That's painful.
Yeah, you almost want to rev it a little closer to like 4,000 or 5,000 to try to make it get in if you got no synchros or whatever going on, or just doesn't want to pop into gear.
On his screen is lighting up absolutely bright purple around Richard Mayer after that too, so he's obviously got the issue sorted out. Now he's absolutely flying, pushing as hard as he can to try and close that gap down.
He's got the fastest lap of the race at the moment. Now, we did get Turkin join the race from a pit lane start, I think, but did not get Jason Bentz. So Turkin's here in 13th now. Gallo with the fastest lap, and now into turn 1. Swanepoel down the inside of Brady Buchanan, 4th place. Bit of a check up on the exit. Maybe not finding that gear, and there's Sam Muir, who I guess picked up a little bit of damage to the nose of the car.
Pretty beaten up at the front, actually, isn't it? It's not going to be great for the cooling of the turbo.
You can see where the intake is on these cars, because part of what's black plastic across the front of the grille is just a little bit of mesh in front of the right headlight. Some rear bias on the brakes. Really squirreling around in towards turn 5 for Swanepoel, and then Buchanan getting a rough ride over the curbs, and you're still watching, looking to pick off a couple more spots.
Front Sam Batty's been caught by Pat Gallo and Sean Lacey, so Batty for Drop Bear Motorsport. He'll be trying to hold on. News that you wouldn't have heard yet that we can break now is that Lachlan Capel now no longer part of Drop Bear Motorsport. So bit of a driver team change within that group there.
There you go. Is it public where he's going? Where's he going?
You'll find out when we get into Pro-Am later tonight.
Righto, okay. Stick with us, folks, so that you can learn when I do.
let's just say he won't be alone in the field, and he'll have some teammates out there still.
This is Buchanan in the middle of Swanepoel and Muir, who looked off the final corner. It didn't work, and he might be missing a little bit of straight line speed potentially. Just a little bit of the damage on, but it's going on Buchanan around the outside this time. Lacey getting the fastest lap of the race and moving into second on that lap. But yeah, that'll do it. Gallo was in third. He's not had a smooth rejoin either.
Really struggled to get the car straight from that, hasn't he? He's just can't get the car comfortable. Unfortunate error, but also seeing pit stops starting in this race.
Yeah, there's Richard Mayer, and it's 9 seconds of fuel for him. Don't think there's a pit lane speed limiter on this car, because when it was developed, I don't think pit lane speed limits existed. So this is how Lacey got into second place, down the inside. Ooh. Gallo, and they make just a little bit of clumsy contacts. See where he lights it up when he's only got 2 wheels on the pavement?
Yeah.
Like, oh, I'm back on the pavement. Nope. Nope, 700 horsepower says not all of your drive wheels are. Yeah, up into fourth. Third place Jock Swanepoel just in front of him, so he's slowly chipping away at all of this. Coming into this round, by 100 points. Could be an in-lap for all of them though, because this would be the end of 5 laps with 5 more to go, and that kind of makes it the halfway point of the lap count right about now.
Yeah, we've known from races past, sorry to cut you off there, we've known from races past that between 10 and 15 minutes is about the limit. We'll probably see him go to about 15 because of course they're running the same fuel balance of performance that we'll see in Pro-Am coming up soon. Sam Muir comes in, probably heard from us how damaged his front is. Decided maybe I better bring it in.
I mean, the front hasn't fallen off, but it is
not far off falling off.
So quite a chunk of drivers pitting, as you saw. These groups stay out and remain the lead fight. Not great drive off that corner for Batty, but he will defend what will be the inside and towards turn 5. Sean Lacey, super quick in these cars. Has his nose in front, looking to outbrake around the outside of 5. He gets in super deep. Does he make the corner? He does. Sean Lacey leads this.
Great job from Lacey to get that spot. Now, have a look at the battle out of pit lane. Drivers that almost share names. They're beating Muir out. They've just seen Swanepoel having an issue, and also just seen Reese Ashmore has received a black flag for something, but something happened there to Swanepoel. I'm just trying to dissect and work out what happened to him there. Oh, I see what happened. This is interesting.
In a moment, we'll all see what happened. Yeah, this is underneath the Corvette bridge. Swanepoel gets wide, gets the curb, gets the wall.
He's loving putting damage on that front left-hand corner of the car, isn't he? He's done it in both races now.
It's Richard Mayer in 11th, the highest running driver to have made a stop, and everyone behind him has stopped as well. Let's see a good chunk more pit stops at the end of this lap as well. Lacey leading, and he's just got speed to burn at the moment, it seems. A big run on pit lane. The yellow cones is where the 72km/h pit lane speed limit starts. Yep, it is 72, which I think is 45 miles an hour. Yeah. So on board with Mayer, who's made that stop. The rest of the competitors in pit lane, looking for their pit crews, looking for some fuel. Given this is a car from the 80s, probably a good dose of lead to go with it. For Mayer has his early stop done well for him. He's at speed, racing down the long pit straight. Relatively long stop, I think, from Sean Lacey, but it'll be close. Yeah, there's some of those drivers on the right. He shoots past all of them. Richard Mayer to the lead of the race. Sam Muir as well. Sean Lacey, it looks like he's going to rejoin in third with Buchanan in fourth, and they can fight this one to the death with 4 laps to go. There's Lacey.
Top of the screen, Hilton Booth speeding in pit lane penalty. So he's dropped from the lead of the race at the start all the way back now. He's in 14th and still stopped in the lane. It's not a great way to have this race play out, but we're looking forward to getting him back in the GT4 next week.
Yeah, back into his Aston Martin. This is our top 4 now battling for the race win. All of their pit stops cleared. By my count here, Sean Lacey took the most fuel. That's Pat Gallo getting assisted a little bit wide by Jacques Swanepoel, and then Paul Longworth goes through as well. Mark Cochran closes in behind them. And Richard Mayer took the least fuel by my numbers as well. So still a chance that your race leader might need to save, and Lacey in third might push on hard with the remaining couple of laps in this race.
Well, there's the stop times on the left, so you can see that Mayer the shortest stop. Sam Batty took the longest stop for just fuel. Obviously the bottom 2 on the list both had pit lane stop and hold penalties, but sorry, Adam Hill Motion actually had a longer stop. So has Mayer put enough fuel in the car to make it home? Has everyone else put too much in? I don't know.
Certainly the pressure is all on him with Sam Muir and Sean Lacey, who's made some moves in this one. They're looking to go back to back and functionally as clean sweep as best you can this wild card round of Pass 2. He qualified the pole position. He won race 1. He's leading race 2. Of course, you can't qualify. You can't win race 1 and start on pole for race 2. He's doing everything as best as could be expected at the moment, but still with a chunk of pressure on him. But we saw how he managed and survived that with the Bent's blowtorch in race 1.
I think Sam Muir's worked the car out a little bit after that first race as well. Lacey's sticking there too, probably applying enough pressure. Cannon, I don't think is close enough, but I think it's the top 3 here that will fight it out with 2 to go. Is it 2 to go or is it 3 to go? I think it might only be 2 to go. 9-lap race in the end. But this is going to be heated all the way to the end. If Sam Muir can find a tiny little bit here, he might have enough in the car to maybe get this spot.
Yeah, so that time's just a couple seconds over 2 minutes, but then also a very long pit lane with a transit time of, close to a minute. So all of that could combine to make it a 9-lap race, but 10 is still possible as they work their way through the kink. If they get around in the next 40 seconds to the start-finish line, it is a little touch and go on that one, and I think I can guess which way Richard Mayer would like it to go and which way Sean Lacey would like it to go in this 9 versus 10 lap conundrum. Richard Mayer all over him for the race lead, but Mayer, can we call him A and U? I don't know. This is super touch and go.
Richard and Sam, that'll do.
Up towards the timing line. What they need is 2 minutes 7 seconds, but Barney is giving them the white flag as they cross with 2 minutes 5 seconds to go. So this will be the final race, final lap of Pass 2. Mayer super defensive, I think, needing to lift into some of these braking zones.
Oh.
Mayer will give him a little bit of how you going as they battle side by side down towards turn 3. Lacey watches on. Sam Mayer holding strong around that outside. Doesn't look like he got the shift just perfectly. And Sean Lacey might fight through up into second place.
These guys are going to be careful not to fight too much because they might let Mayer off the hook here. I think if he's worked out that it was only going to be 9 laps because of the pit stop, he's played this perfectly, but he's just done that by luck. Well done if it's paid off. Has he put enough fuel in the car still? We don't know. But I think the confidence levels look a little bit better from his perspective than they did a lap ago.
Lacey up into second, ready to attack. One of the big movers of this race, making a lot of passes. Samuel now back into that third place where he finished race 1. Cannon close enough and watching on any hints of a cough or splutter for Richard Mayer, and Lacey could take this one. Oh, Lacey runs wide on the carousel. Takes a long while to gather it up. Only just does so before the kink. But then Mayer runs wide in the kink. Sean Lacey goes through into the lead of this one on the final lap. Sam Muir through as well. Buchanan through as well. And for Richard Mayer, it becomes a nightmare on the final lap. Trying to hold on to that lead. Trying to hold on to that fuel. But Lacey now leads, and it's uphill from the final corner to the checkered flag. If you cough, if you splutter, you're in a very, very difficult position. It's not like coasting down the hill at Bathurst. Here's Lacey defending. Muir looks around the outside, but it does not work. Buchanan gets a good run out of the final corner then. We know that Barney's going to have the checkered flag this time. Lacey looks unstoppable, but Buchanan's going for the side draft, and it's an absolute photo finish between second and third. Sam Muir just holds on, and it's 0.06 of a second on the podium.
Wow, what a race all the way to the end there. That was absolutely brilliant. Well done to P1, P2, P3, and P4 there. Lacey, Muir, Buchanan, and Mayer. That was absolutely fantastic to watch. What a battle all the way to the finish of that race. Deserved a grandstand finish from the battles they had the whole way through, and we got what we deserved.
Yeah, we did. That's why you don't need to change the layout of this racetrack since 1955, because it's awesome the way it uses the elevation around here, the way it uses the woods and the forest. Amazing. Super close finish for the leaders there. Lacey getting through on the final lap on the way down to Canada Corner after he messed up the carousel. Mayer messed up the kink. Lacey went through. Muir tried to fight. Buchanan tried to steal it away from him at the end. What a close podium. What a great race. It's your top 4. Sam Batty just outside of that in 5th. Swanepoel in 6th, and Gallo, Longworth, Mark Cochran, and Adam Hill Motion as the top 10. Aaron Maguire, Mikhail Turkin, Matt Hardigan, Stu Brown, Hilton Booth, and Reese Ashmore. The remaining finishers. Penalties there laid on for Hilton Booth and Reese Ashmore as far as speeding in pit lane, and not a bad performance, all things considered, then from Mikhail Turkin, who started from pit lane in this one as well, and he only finished 23 seconds back off the lead. I think a pit lane start, you start about 15 seconds, 20 seconds away from the lead of the race, so that's not bad at all. Well, with thanks to Super Cheap Auto, our Make It Super award goes to Sean Lacey. $20 gift voucher heading to him. What a great final lap he had. Raced pretty fair, I would say, but he raced hard. He smelt blood in the water on the final lap, and he went from that third place to a really awesome, entertaining race win. Sean Lacey makes it super, and he gets a $20 gift card. Maybe I'll read more of the catalog this week later. So much more simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series action coming up for us tonight, because it's about to be yet more turbo whistle with the Pro-Am drivers in their multi-class action for 2 more longer races with yet more pit stop strategy. Stick with us, that one not far away at all.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate.
This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel. Visit iRacing.com.
World of Outlaws Dirt Racing is available now. Download your copy today.
It's time for the Pro-Am category in their wildcard round from Road America, and it means some longer races, some bigger grids, and adding the Nissan GTP to our racing as well. And it also means adding Stuart Brown alongside me. So we've got two great races coming up for the combined Pro and Am categories here. And this is what their grid looks like. Lachlan Capel and John Merritt in those gorgeous 80s prototypes. Even more power, even more downforce than you get out of the Audi 90 GTO. And then you see Joshua Fitt and Luke Turner on the next row of the grid. Scott Hassler and Ben Holiday, 5th and 6th in the starting order. Then Hamish Cleland and Adam Funslow. And the top 10 for this 15-minute race is Jeffrey Wang and Christopher Hen. But it is a big grid, and it keeps going with Daniel Fleming and Sebastian Flock. Row behind them is Ben Jeffrey and Thomas Lepre, the pace car starting them on their formation lap right now for a scenic 6.4 kilometers of Road America. Got Brandon Grotch and Adam Jepson, 15th and 16th on the grid respectively there. And now into some of the Audi 90 drivers, Bo Albert and Jeff Connell, both of them so strong in these cars. Richard Brookfield and Brandon Levin there for that category. Nick Wood and Jordan Peter. Now, I'm pretty confident it's pros and ams mixed across both types of cars as well, which makes things most entertaining. Ian Jordan and Sam Lehman there on that row of these Audis. Caleb Bellack and Macaulay Jones is back as well in the Audi. David Baz and Ben Pollock on the next row. And then Seb Vondel looks like he is the last driver on that grid, Stuart.
Yeah, absolutely. And as you say, an interesting mix here. I was excited to see Jeff Connell jumping into the Audi 90, having seen him do wonderful things in that car, particularly with fuel economy. As everyone knows, Jeff Connell, a master of fuel economy in previous Pro-Am wildcard rounds where they ran this car. So looking forward to seeing Jeff battle it out with the Audi 90 tonight.
Later into the day in session, you can see those shadows off of the trees are much, much longer, and it has cooled the racetrack from what we saw earlier. We saw sort of 37, 35 in the previous past two races. It's now 29 Celsius on track, and I suspect it's going to get even cooler. So the lap times will be pretty fierce from both of these cars. That is the championship standings in Pro, where Jeff Connell is on top from Lachlan Capel, Scott Hassler, Brandon Levin, John Merritt, Sebastian Flock, Jordan Peter, Hamish Cleland, Christopher Hen, and Richard Brookfield. It's looking good again for Jeff Connell as he starts on the front row of the Audi 90s. And in the AMs, Nick Wood is ahead of Brandon Grotch and Stephen Tonkin as the top three. And then Harry Lawrence, Seb Vondel, Jeffrey Wang, Adam Jepson, Tyson Hanmer, Ian Jordan, and Ben Holiday is the top 10. You were admiring their paint scheme, and I think Ben Holiday's got himself a pretty damn good qualifying position amongst the GTPs.
Yeah, absolutely he has. So running that classic Mazda livery off a car that was eventually outlawed from motor racing for being, well, too quick. And yeah, it's great to see that car back represented on the grid, even if not in actual kind, but in likeness all the same.
Yeah. Rotaries go brap, brap, brap. That's not what's actually underneath the engine cover on these, but there's plenty of turbo whistles and other pops and bangs and fire breathing, etc., to keep the whole family entertained. And look at some of those guys there. They are loving it. There's one guy he's been tailgating since noon, and he's ready for Pro-Am to get underway in a bit. This is their format. They've qualified. They're lined up in that qualifying order. We've got 15 minutes ahead of us for this first race, and then 25 minutes for race 2. No inverts for them, because that wouldn't work with the two models of car, would it?
No, it would make it quite interesting, and of course no gap being left here either by the 90s behind them. So it's going to be a mixed bag, I reckon. Turn 1 is sketchy, is the easiest word to describe it. But if you can manage to get your way through it, it's hard work. 10 minutes in the Audi, followed by the 20-minute feature race in the past two race just before was full on for the entirety of the race. So these guys are going to earn their bickies tonight through this first 15-minute feature race, I should say, until the tyres get up to temp as well. It's going to be one that they're going to have to manage.
Yeah, old cars, nothing in the way of some of those creature comforts like ABS, traction control, pit lane speed limiters, etc. The whole time, it's all you.
Yeah, absolutely. And look, the pit lane speed limiter is a really important one. It's an uphill approach here, so you can get caught out with your braking marker. You can't just pluck that rev limiter on, or the pit limiter on, to get the car to slow down or to give you an indication of where you need to get to. So watch out for drivers getting caught out on pit entry as well.
29 classic vintage race cars, 15 minutes of race 1 to score points and also set the grid for the 25-minute race 2. The green flag's up, the green flag's down, and we get underway, and it's all about who reacted in time, who had the revs up, the power up, and they all race and blast down towards turn 1. It's looking good for Lachlan Capel on the inside line. His teammate Ben Holiday looking very strong around the outside as the downforce in the high-speed corners kicks in for the prototype runners, and they do start to scamper away from the less grippy, less horse-powered Audi 90 GTOs in the background. Straight line speeds of these Nissan GTPs pretty significant, but the braking distance is still relatively long downhill in towards turn 5, where you can already see drivers looking one way, looking one lane, locking them up, and almost catastrophe there for Scott Hasler, but he doesn't get the nose underneath and funnel any of his competitors out wide. And then looking at the Audi 90 GTO class, where still an amazing battle between Bo Albert and Jeff Connell.
And it ended up not working out there for Hasler. He's gone off on the inside of turn 6 or 7. The car looked like it was just bouncing along the track there. Just took too much of the curving on the inside and struggled there as he went off on the inside, and still struggling with that car as well, as you can see on screen now, of Scott Hasler. So he's going to have a little bit of work to do here to get that one back up into the pack. He's got his teammate with him as well to keep him company as they stay just in front of that marauding Audi pack coming up behind them.
Racing towards Canada corner, fastest straight line speed I see at the moment, 293 kilometers an hour from Adam Jepson in the number 525. So really motoring along, and it's not been a good opening lap for Frog Leap Juiced in the prototype.
It's there again.
Yeah, he is off once more. Now dropping in and amongst some of the Audis, which is not where he wants to be, not where some of the Audis want him to be.
No, and it looks like Jeffrey Wang as well, just struggling for early grip here. Cleland's probably cooked those tyres, and is just going to have to try and bide his time a little bit here to get them to cool down, to get himself back on track. Doesn't look like there's too much damage to that car, but he is just going to struggle with the overheating of those tyres for this next lap or two.
So that's the speed difference for the prototype down the straight. As you can see, it sits a little lower, a little more aggressively. It's a road car glass house for the Audi 90s, then the big wide flares on them. But that hasn't stopped Jeff Connell getting to the lead of that group, of that class, with Bo Albert just in behind. Shirt matching the livery. They're not a sponsor, but they're on special at my local Woolies this week, so I picked up a couple cans.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah, White Can is the favourite for me of the Monster Group. There we go. So he's there representing the brand, and how cool is it to have the driver shot on board as well, as we look back now as Bo takes the lead of the race back from Jeff Connell, having looked back. The pair of black Audis running at the front of that field. You can see there as well, Richard Brookfield not too far behind in the purple Audi 90 as well.
Of course, Bo Albert is a card-carrying Ken Block super fan as well, so I'm sure he'll tell you that has a big influence on the livery he's gone with, considering it's, it's turbocharged, it's all-wheel drive. That's real Ken Block wheelhouse stuff as well. This is the race leader in the Nissan prototypes, and Lachlan Capel is in his new paint with his new team, Evolution Racing Team. Turner behind. Definitely looks like the Audi 90s are a little drag here. Oh, is he popped the motor? Bad downshift with the H pattern in towards turn 1. Too many revs. Engine says kaput, and he cannot believe it. But that's how these cars work.
He's literally just dropped the bundle on the way out, and you can see from the look on his face there, as Jay pointed out, that it's yeah, not too much surprising. Jeff Connell's off as well in the background. If we can flick back to that, he's come off and hit the infield wall there, trying to get the Audi under control. He's just run wide. We get a replay up at some stage if we can. Oh, he's in big trouble. Oh dear.
More carnage on the pit straight as more cars come together, and Jeff Connell clearly has way more damage than he thought. Luke Turner for the Brabham Racing looping it around as well in turn 5.
Plenty going on there to try and unravel. I think Jeff Connell dropped a wheel on the outside, and the Audi there goes into the dirt, and it's just flicking down the inside, grabbed the tyre wall, and then tried to hold it. But unfortunately, hasn't worked out for him at right at the point of damage. He's tried to take off again. It's just turned him. As you can see there, he's got no control. And unfortunately, I'm not sure. I think it was one of the Islet cars might have copped an innocent shot there in the background as well.
And here's Luke Turner in turn 5, just way out wide. That curb is nasty. The horsepower comes on unpredictably as well as the revs build, and then the boost comes in.
And then it's all over Red Rover.
Yeah, and a bit of damage on that car as well. So now it's John Merritt leading amongst the Nissan prototypes from Joshua Fitt and Ben Holiday. So yeah, you're pretty pleased with that potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. Lachlan Capel is back out on track. If you're looking at the standings there and wondering how that's possible, the drivers do have a fast repair, so he would have got that one towed back, and they would have miraculously fit a new motor into the back of his car. So he'll try and pick up some points here and at least get a better start out of this one if he can. So he's
Seb, give us a wave if you're listening.
No.
That's probably for the best.
Yeah.
Probably for the best. You can see as he turns into the left-hander at turn 5 with Ben Jeffrey, Thomas LaPrake and Brandon Groach in behind him.
So we're just approaching 8 minutes to go in this one, and we're just jumping on board here with Seb Vandel, who's in the Audi 90.
So much smoke in front of him. I think someone else has managed a bad gear shift, put too many revs through the motor and let a little bit of the magic smoke out. So
there it is.
There you go. Vandel following in as well. Are we seeing a lot of pit stops out of the Audis in this one? Pollock with a meatball, Vandel with a meatball, Capel with a meatball. Good thing we've got plenty of cheese and sausage to go with it here.
Absolutely, and he got real lucky there with where that happened to him. He was able to just trundle up the pit lane. Obviously, he'll lose some spots, but able to, again, get access to one of those fast repairs and get back on with it.
Looking at Brandon Levin, now third in these Audi 90 GTOs. Nick Wood looks like he's just behind as the best placed AM runner in an Audi 90, which I guess is worth the winning points as well. Split equally with Ben Holiday, who's the highest running AM driver in a GTP. Now, looking again, there was already a... Oh, okay.
Right, so that's how that happened.
Right. So another casualty. Not the one that ended up in the tyre barrier upside down, but enough damage, a big enough hit against the wall that probably done some damage to some radio.
So I think
it might have been
work,
Jordan who ended up upside down, but that's just a guess. I think there's been a little more carnage to these Audi 90s than there's been to the Nissan GTPs. This is what happened to Macaulay Jones, and he's already got drama with the engine. He's trying to, I think, just give way into the carousel, and we've seen that just one tyre in the grass is enough to upset these Audi 90s far more easily than you might have otherwise expected.
Yeah, absolutely. Do we know on this one, Dave, whether or not they've got the same fuel capacity restrictions? I think it was 30% starting
I think
capacity?
they do, and I think what we're
Yeah, so here we
expecting to
go.
see is one stop in this first race and maybe two stops
Two.
in the next race. Oh, carnage! Teammates come together in the pit entry. Leprake and Frog Leap Juiced cars came together on the pit entry there for the 90 GTOs. It's on between Levin and Brookfield, and Levin's worked his way up into second in the black Audi. But all of the GTPs coming into pit lane, and they had a concertina effect at the pit commit, and some teammates collided there. Again, you've got the very recent experience with it. You almost can't see those cones until you're upon them. Maybe an onboard is what does justice to this.
So come up here, you've got the two Juice boys trying to get things slowed up. Oh, and as you say, big concertina effect, trying to avoid one another as they pull up behind the car that was already in front in pit lane, just trying to make that pace that they need to get to. 72 Ks all. We've got someone off down there, down at Canada, as you can see. Looks like
Nick a record, Wood. Baby. Right round for Nick Wood, who was on track for AM-class winning points in the Audis. And that King split him big, and Jordan Peter, and maybe one or two others there. John Merritt nearly gets driven up from behind. He's now back into fourth after all of the pit stops. So I think Fithen and Holiday have all managed to jump in through that. And we are about to see why. And it's the multi-class traffic.
Just caught him up. He's got some damage there to the front left-hand corner now as well. He's done actually really well, Merritt. No mean driver by any stretch to keep that together, because very easily could have looped it off that grass. Sort of just rode the wall a little bit to get it back to where he could get it onto the track, and he's very lucky to be still going.
Yeah, I think he's got a chunk of damage on it, because he gets passed by Adam Funslow now, and he's missing a lot of performance from that hit against the wall. He's had a lot of drag as well. Funslow just motoring away. Again, more smoke in the air in the final sector. Bunch of Audis coming to pit lane. There's only a couple Audis that haven't been through. So Peter and Wood are in because they got damage. That's Ben Jeffrey. He spears off the circuit and into the wall.
Gone round as well, just getting on the gas a little bit too hard on the exit of the final corner, and easy enough to turn it around.
So the only Audis that haven't stopped are Bo Albert, Brandon Levin, Richard Brookfield, and Sam Lehman. Every Nissan has stopped to this point. So you pan from Bo Albert back to Brandon Levin and Richard Brookfield, who's still just staying in touch. They strike a big presence, so they punch a big hole in the air with a little bit more drag. It definitely looks like the slipstream is more dramatic in the Audis than it is the Nissans.
I'm wondering if any of the Audi drivers are going to try and stretch the tank, so you get around about 12 and a half minutes of fuel out of those at that 30% restriction. So some of them might be trying to run the distance to see if that can help their luck for those who haven't pit yet, because they're leaving it quite late. We've only got 2 minutes to go before the end of the race, so they may make it.
Because all the Nissans have pitted, Bo Albert pits from the lead of the Audis. They were not at all at risk of going a full lap down like they would if it went green and there were no pit stops. So with pit stops for the Nissans, drops them back a little bit, saves them from putting a lap on the Audis, and therefore makes it more challenging, potentially adding an extra lap to the race for the Audis based on the fact that they don't get lapped. So now all of the Audis are in. Here is John Merritt losing a couple more positions, still motoring on with it. Caleb Bellac off the road in an Audi.
Just got touched
Merritt's
there, Nick Wood, I believe.
Staying out there and hoping for the best.
Just a bit of contact there from Nick Wood, I think, on that. Oh, and there's huge damage as well. Looks like Adam Jepson dropping down the radar time-wise.
And Hamish Cleland again. This is Adam Funslow in the final corner. Just runs it out wide, maybe locks up a front tyre and doesn't make the corner at all. Gives John Merritt position back also briefly.
get it going again.
Love the eagle paint just there with Leprake, I think it is.
Yeah.
Yeah. Fifth place, Seb Flock in the wall.
Another big lose, and there's someone else off in the background as well. It's coming around the corner there.
It's at the Corvette Bridge and then the Hurry Downs, isn't it? Oh, that thing is ugly.
It's like Brandon Crosh. Potentially.
Ben Holiday, and he doesn't need to do this. He's an AM driver amongst pros, and they tangle at Canada corner. He goes off into the gravel with damage on his Nissan. Christopher Henn carries on in second. Where's the next AM class car? It's Leprake who goes past to the AM Nissan lead. Ben Holiday can't get it refired and has to get it towed on the final lap with the checkered flag out. Joshua Fitt takes the Pro Nissan win. Thomas Leprake is going to come through to take the AM Nissan win. Bo Albert takes the Pro Audi win, and the AM leader in that class looks to be Sam Lehman.
Does, yeah, he's run a good race, Sam. Ran quite long, so got the benefit of that as well. But plenty of carnage and championship implications too, with leaders of both Pro and AM. With the two leaders, I should say, of the Pro class, Lachlan Capel and Jeff Connell, probably having races they hadn't had.
This is Holiday looking around the outside at Canada corner, going for second outright. And they make contact at the apex as he looks to turn in. He skates out and I think almost gets stuck with the tyre barrier. Joshua Fitt putting out some tyre, not engine smoke, into the air for once at Road America.
Yeah, plenty of big celebration there for the win. He'll be happy, but there's still more work to be done here with a 25-minute feature race coming up as well. So, see how this unfolds. But here are the Heat 1 or Race 1 results for tonight, with Joshua Fitt taking out the win from Christopher Henn. Had Daniel Fleming in third, with Thomas Leprake in fourth. Scott Hasler from the Frog Leap Juice Racing team in fifth, with John Merritt holding on for sixth after that late damage. Jeffrey Wang coming in seventh, with Adam Funslow in eighth, Brandon Grosh in ninth, and Luke Turner taking out 10th position. We go into 11th at Seb Flock, with 12th Ben Jeffries. Then we got Ben Holiday, followed by Adam Jepson and Lachlan Capel in 15th, with Hamish Clellan in 16th. And we head into the Audis with Bo Albert taking out the win there, followed by Brandon Levin, Richard Brookfield and Sam Lehman in fourth. So move into Seb Vandel in fifth, Jordan Peter in sixth, Jeff Connell in seventh, Ian Jordan in eighth, Caleb Bellick in ninth, with Macaulay Jones in 10th, Nick Wood 11th, Ben Pollock in 12th, and David Bass in 13th. Wow.
Well, there's no invert going from race 1 to race 2, so the drivers catch their breath, maybe wipe a little bit of sweat off, and then get ready to do it all again. And it makes some of those late race dramas you saw in race 1 ever more costly, as those drivers will start deep on the grid for race number 2. We can also look forward to next week, where we take the GT4s and GT3s to Circuit Manicourt in France, and that is a very quick chicken in the final sector that you see right there. Should be great. Let's take a super quick ad break here and get ready for the feature 25-minute race of the simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series Wildcard from Road America.
So you do like it?
I love it, yeah.
Yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate. This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.
Racing isn't easy, but experiencing it is. iRacing puts you in the driver's seat with the industry's leading sim racing game. Drive on laser scan replicas of the greatest racing circuits from around the world. Go head-to-head against other drivers chosen by skill-based matchmaking to ensure competitive racing at every level. Compete across all your favorite series. In officially licensed cars, engineered to deliver the most accurate driving experience possible. Join a race or host your own with players from across the globe. Race against the computer or in a league with friends. Feel the thrill behind the wheel.
Well, we're back and we're ready for the final race of the night in simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series, the Wildcard from Road America. It's definitely not been a sensible card so far. We've seen some pretty mental stuff, but also some great racing, and all of it with thanks to the series partners, simrigs.com, Exodus Racing, Super Cheap Auto, who have given us another $20 gift card to give away at the end of the night, and Echuca Toyota and Index Designs. So we're ready now for the 25-minute race number 2, as we're then going to tick off the first half of the schedule. The Manicor, Hockenheim, Nürburgring, Belle Isle and Barcelona to bring us home.
Yeah, it's an interesting final 5 rounds. It's a variety of courses there, which of course is deliberate as we try and fit these huge grids through. Speaking of which,
grids, if you will, yeah, he's on pole from Christopher Hen. How about I do Nissans and you do Audis?
Sounds great, mate. Let's do that.
With Fleming and Leprake, the next row. A couple of drivers that made good positions and kept their nose clean in race number 1, but now have good grid spots as well for race number 2. And Scott Hasler and John Merritt, the third row of Nissans. Jeffrey Wang and Adam Funslow behind that. Brandon Groach and Luke Turner. And it's Sebastian Flock and Ben Jeffrey, 11th and 12th. And Lachlan Capel, Adam Jepson. Capel with a lot of work to do from back there. And same too for Ben Holiday, who could have stood on the outright podium, but contact last lap at Canada Corner sets him all the way back to 15th, sharing that row with the last Nissan GTP, Hamish Cleland.
We head into the GTOs. We've got Bo Albert and Brandon Levin starting on the front row, followed by Richard Brookfield and Sam Lehman, who had a good run in that first race. Sebastian Varndell and Jordan Peter off the next row. They're going to have their work cut out with Jeff Connell and Ian Jordan coming hot and heavy behind them. And it's Caleb Bellick, who had a late race drama as well, and Macaulay Jones. Back to Nick Wood and Ben Pollock. And then we're going to have a look at David Bass, who's starting from the rear of the field, but that gives him the best opportunity to avoid what mayhem may lay for him. I just saw in the chat there that the drivers are going to leave a little bit of a gap this time around between the GTOs and the Nissans, just to try and make a little bit of space in case there is anything that happens. You can see that there in the background, so that's not the worst decision from Bo Albert.
It will be interesting to see, with the race starting at the drop of the green flag, how far around the final corner or Bill Mitchell Bend or even Canada Corner some of the Audis are when we start the race, though. But overall, a good move. Sun even lower, shadows even longer, track still cooling off a little more. I point out to you, these Audis do not actually have headlights as well.
Yeah, we famously a couple of years ago there was a race at, I don't remember which track it was now, but with no headlights, and it finished in the pitch black. A timing malfunction with the way the race was set up meant the drivers were driving around in the dark. Quite comical. Flash of the exhaust, pretty much the only thing to let you know there was a car in front of you, but the drivers did quite well.
I think Max Bantz did similar once as well, which I think lets you know exactly how stupid and farcical that sort of nonsense is. If that's your bedfellows. Yeah, working their way around the formation lap with just a good little bit of space between those super quick Nissan GTPs with a fair chunk of downforce and plenty of horsepower as well, and the slightly more brutish Audi 90 GTOs. Do think they're likely shaping up for a two-stop race here as well.
Yeah, so 25% capacity restriction for these vehicles. So be mindful of the fuel savers. And my mind goes to Jeff Connell for that particular aspect. It may be possible to stretch the Audi, as you mentioned in race one. Just depends on whether or not they get lapped and how that all plays out. So it's going to be interesting to see how they manage to work their way through this one, and whether someone goes the distance and tries to do a single stop. It'd be brave if they do it, but they might just get there and change the race.
Are they going the distance, or are they going the speed? Yeah, we'll wait and see. You can see where the safety car is in the final corner right now. 25 minutes of flame shooting, turbo whistling action for the final wildcard race of the season. And it's a good looking field. The only drivers I think we might be missing from this second race are Ben Holiday and David Baz. Let's get it underway. And we will. Great launch from some of the drivers on the fourth or fifth row. A little bit of contact back there. You see them all shuffling around, and there's not a lot of room to maneuver with that concrete pit wall on the driver's right as well. Coming down towards turn number one. Uh-oh, Lachlan Capel. Turn one has not been nice to him. How about the Audi GTO start? They're crashing as they take the green flag.
Yeah, that looks like maybe Sam Lehman, I think that was in the background. They might have got some contact in the 15. It was Lachlan Capel, as you said, turn one, not been kind to him. So he has got more work to do now than he already had in the Nissans up the front. But it is an early lead here for Joshua Fitt, who's resumed his position. Early battling between Hen and Fleming as they head up under the Corvette bridge. Cold tyres going to be difficult for these drivers. John Merritt looking to make up from his race one abnormalities as we continue to make our way through this first lap. Lots of jostling back in the pack.
Certainly is past the hurry downs and then towards the carousel for the Nissan GTPs, and the Audi lead here still Bo Albert, Brendan Levin, Richard Brookfield. Jeff Connell has worked his way up to fourth in class here as well on that opening lap, and it's right with the leaders, right in position to maybe do something a bit Jeff Connolly. The Audi Nissans are battling towards Canada Corner, and I see Turner maybe getting passed by a couple drivers. John Merritt's made some big moves on this opening lap. So is Sebastian Flock. There is not insignificant damage to that right-hand side for Luke Turner. That is pretty gnarly.
Yeah, I'm not too sure when that happened, but it's definitely impacted his speed as he got passed by a number of drivers on that first lap, just trying to manhandle that number 9 Brabham livery Nissan around the track.
Merritt goes into third place. Great move there with just a really great run onto the pit straight, using a little bit of the slipstream and just confident as he braked in towards turn number 1 to sweep up into third, pursuing Christopher Hen and Joshua Fitt up front.
We're 3 wide at the start there, so they wanted to get it going. It started to settle down now as the tyres start to get some heat into them. As you So John Merritt up 3 places. He'll be happy with the start he's made. Jeff Connell up 4 places back in the Audis. So a few movers in the field, and those that need to. The bigger implication here, Connell in 3rd in the Audi 90s, and at the moment Lachlan Capel back in 13th in the Nissan. So that will come up. So we head back here and have a little bit of a look how Luke Turner in the Brabham copped that damage. You can just see him there on the left-hand side. Oh, and he's been the innocent victim there with the, I think that was the 26th of Jeffrey Wang, just getting into the back of him there. So unfortunate.
You could see Wang was trying to brake on the ripple strip there, and it snapped sideways on him. And yeah, absolutely nothing, like literally nothing Luke Turner can do there when something like that happens. How good is John Merritt being sponsored by a Toyota dealership running a Mazda livery on a Nissan?
It's
like, there's a couple of layers to that cake.
It's complex, but I guess at the end of the day, someone has to pay the bills. So he's just doing what he can do. Dare say if we were running a Toyota, he'd be the one who'd be jumping on board.
Looks good though, Luke Turner, to get that damage fixed. He did stay out another lap, but there was so much pace missing from it. And he doesn't appear like he had a meatball, but even if he did, it kind of maybe works out to stay out that 1 lap longer if it means you don't have to make this a 3-stop race by pitting at the end of lap 1.
Yeah, absolutely.
Connell's made another spot, so he's past Richard Brookfield.
Into 3rd already. It would not surprise me if Jeff tries to make this a 1-stop race as well. So we might get some onboards at some stage during when we get closer towards pit stop time, just to see how much he might try and save.
If he was doing the McLaren again, you can tell by the duration and intensity of the flames when he's off throttle, but I don't think the Audi quite works like that. This is Leprake with the Eagle. And it's very, very beaky, and he's got a great run off the kink to challenge Scott Hasler and Daniel Fleming in towards Canada Corner. He's made it work, so Leprake now 4th outright and best placed AM-class driver in a Nissan, because 2nd is Brandon Grosh back in 9th there. So a lot of cars and real estate between himself and them.
That is an amazing livery. I just noticed as well, it's got wet paint written across the top of the windscreen. So that's a classic. I'll have to keep that in mind for next time I might jump into that. But Levin now is under pressure from Jeff Connell as well, looking to make another spot as he's all over the back of the 99 here through the carousel. Exit here, really important. And the entry in these cars into this sweeper is really, really difficult as well. You can see a little bit of a break required there just to get them to turn in, otherwise you end up paying that wall a fairly hefty visit. So both drivers doing quite well here with the draft, but Connell looking to get down the inside. Is he going to get the move to stick? Yes, he is. Oh, there's contact. There's contact there between the two. Does that damage the steering wheel? The steering, I should say, for Levin.
Had a big jump nose, got a long way up in the air as they made a little bit of contact at the apex.
Doesn't dive into pit lane, so there's a... Yeah, it looks
Hamish
like
Cleland.
Cleland off again. And I think
so much happening.
Nick Wood may have had a little incident in the background as well. Just saw him flash up on my timing screen. So, and there's another one as well. Jordan Peter, everyone just starting to... there's a track starting to cool now. Just starting to have a couple of issues making their way around the track. The gap starting to open here between Connell and Levin. Already out to just on half a second.
Having a look at Nick Wood. That's out of Canada Corner, and then what's easy in some cars, having a little look in a Bill Mitchell bend. And they touch not really a place you're expecting someone to try and pass you, I don't think. In a GT3, it's basically flat out, and that was Jordan Pizza. Yep. As he did what a couple have done and just run wide out of that final corner and find that the combination of curbing and grass is very, very, very slippery and very likely to spin you around. Adam Funslow hits, and so does Hamish Cleland.
Difficult as well for the Audi drivers, just that entry to pit lane there, as see Ben Pollock off. Just slightly too early for them to try and risk making it with one stop, so they've got to come in and pit, and then they're definitely going to have to make 2 stops to get through the race. As just here, we've got another move. Didn't quite see the number on that car. I think it might have been Scott Hasler there making a move. It was indeed.
Yep, he got past Daniel Fleming in turn 5 there, and maybe set about pushing on up to where Thomas Leprake is.
Oh no, is that Lachlan? Oh, this is going to be one of those ones where he that won't fondly remember it, I think.
His face looked so sad earlier. I thought a graphic was going to pop up asking me to donate. Oh, it's free Nissan parking there today as well.
Like it. He needs to reach out to Brett at HRS and get a bigger sticker there for his wall in the background. It's very small, hard to see, but that's okay. Shout out to Brett up in, at HRS. Anyway, the Mazda's starting to... Oh, the Mazda. Looking for tongue there. The Nissan's just starting to run into pit lane here.
In the replay, Christopher Hen got checked up behind one of the Audis through the kink there, gave a great run to John Merritt, who went and made that pass and decided, this is my in-lap, and I don't mind leading you into that pit entry, because we've seen it's probably the advantageous position rather than getting checked up in the queue for pit entry. So that's fit Merritt and Hen, the top 3 in that class, all looking for their pit crew, and then Leprake and the whole rest of the gang as well.
Just on your screen there as well, you can see the pit time for each of the drivers just next to their name. So important to see if anyone does try to short fill a little bit, maybe grab a spot and manage some fuel to the end of this race. So we'll have a look at the order when they all come out and see what changes. Looks like Merritt got...
Hasler jumped Leprake, that's about it. The top 3 left in the same order that they entered.
Gaps open up there. Merritt now 2 seconds on Hen as well.
Longish stop for Hen, honestly. So maybe that helps him later on, or maybe he was awfully askew in his pit box and got slow service. Fight's on again through all of those Nissan GTPs, and a little while longer before we see the Audis based on what we saw out of race 1.
Ken Jeffries getting a penalty for speeding into pit lane. We know, talking about it at length, how easy that is to do. So he's going to have to make another trip. Trip down memory lane he won't want to have to do. But Luke Turner now looking at the back here of the Brabham liveried Nissan. And Jordan in pit lane in the Audi as well. We're in that period of the race where things are just sort of going to start to get interesting. Pit strategy coming into play. Both the drivers, back-to-back races. These cars are quite physical to drive. A lot different to the GT4s and GT3s that generally get run throughout the series. We'll be working hard, so that comes into play as well. Not too many opportunities here. You've got the 2 straights, but the rest of the track really physical, and you've got to be switched on. Otherwise these things will grab you very, very quickly, shoot you off into the wall. So
it's Funslow lining up Fleming 7th and 8th in the foreground there, and Funslow gets it wrong. He runs wide in turn 1. It does end up going off the road, so suddenly recovering Luke Turner is all over him. Turner, though, you've got to keep in mind with that early stop, he's carrying less fuel than everyone else at this point in the race, which is a penalty he's going to have to correct for at his next stop, when he'll have to take more than I think we expect to see out of everyone else. But he's still going to have a red hot go down in towards turn 5, got his nose to the inside there, and gets pretty good traction off the corner as well, and then the lap traffic doesn't hurt him either as they come underneath the Corvette bridge.
Yeah, you got a little bit of assistance there, but the lap traffic doing quite well in a difficult situation to get out of the way and let these guys keep racing. So, good job there for them. The Audis start to pile in now.
I think Jeff Connell managed to reel a little bit of time out of Bo Albert in those last couple of laps as well, because it was out at sort of 3.5 seconds. The gap on their pit entry time is about 2, if you look at how much more time is on Albert's counter than Connell. And they all find their crew pretty easily. So I think the race is well and truly on there between Albert and Connell.
Yeah, as we're looking here at the battle for 5th between Flock, Leprake and Fleming.
Fleming's off the road.
Fleming's gone straight ahead. Straight ahead there is just misjudged the entry into the corner. There's also a bit of a bump on the entry there that can upset the car, so potentially helping him on his way.
Audi's back into the race after their pit stop. Pretty identical stops there between Albert and Connell. Slightly shorter fill for Richard Brookfield, who's jumped Brandon Levin. But the traffic is on right now, as now that they've made those stops, the Audis are dropped back into that 1 lap down to GTP's range.
Yeah, and it's interesting, of course, we've got the lead of the Audi race here now in a really tight battle between for 5th, 6th and 7th, or 5th and 6th now, and that makes it even more difficult for these drivers to understand where they should give way or not, because they're trying to make sure that they can get into their own race and get the position they're targeting, but they've got to make way for these faster Nissans on their way through.
One of those spots that you get checked up, that quick right-hand flick into the hurry downs there, and they're forced to wait behind Jeff Connell and don't know which way he's going. Brandon Croce doesn't want to run him straight off the road, but he's forced to look somewhere, and it's down the inside at the carousel that he eventually shovels his way in.
Yeah, and of course, one an Am, one a Pro, and flipped categories this year, this race. So maybe not potentially totally familiar with it. It was with nearly 3 wide there. It's a hairy spot for that to happen.
Fleming and Cleland forcing their way past one of the ILET cars of Richard Brookfield in the kink, and they went 2 wide through there, which I didn't think was going to end well, but they just pulled it off. It's those really quick corners where the much lighter, more downforce carrying Nissan is so much quicker, squeezing around the outside for Cleland. That's where they don't want to get caught up. So that fast right at the hurry downs and also the kink, that's where the speed differential is at its greatest, and the Nissans are going to lose time in traffic if that's where they catch an Audi.
Yeah, hold your breath moments for those guys getting through there as well. So, but everyone through unscathed so far. So just up on the back of Bo Albert, who's sorry, not Bo Albert. That is
Fleming and Cleland in the Nissans, and Bo Albert in the Monster Audi.
The Monster Audi, of course, which we spoke about before. So he's actually managed to skip away a little bit there, with Connell having to deal with that traffic. And one of the beauties of multi-class racing like this, it's worked out to his advantage. They've gone through against him on the straightaways, so he's been able to not lose as much time. So Connell's got the work to do now. Topped out 3/4 of a second. That was over a second out over when they exited pit lane.
So with one more round of stops to go for these prototypes, Joshua Fitt leads 2.7 seconds from John Merritt in the Toyota Mazda Nissan, and Christopher Henn is not all that far behind either, knowing that he might have a shorter final stop in the sprint to the end, because he definitely brimmed it at the previous stop, where Fitt and Merritt might have just gone a little bit shorter. No such situation like that in the Audi battle here between Connell and Albert, where they both pitted the same lap, took the same amount of fuel, and the gap between them on track remains 2.5 seconds, give or take, though it would have got moved around a little bit when the bulk of the traffic was coming through them.
Just looking back through the field there, so Jordan and Wood a little close, 5th and 6th back in the GTOs. That battle as well, still alive at the front. So we've got Hen and Scott Hasler's had a better performance in this race. He'll be a bit happier. He got a little bit wide in the exit of the final corner last lap around, but still managing to get it through, as we're seeing Adam Funslow in pit lane doing his final stop of the race, and Cleland as well.
It looks like fuel range for these Nissans is 5 laps, because remember, Luke Turner pitted after 2 laps, then he ran 5 and had to pit again. Adam Funslow was one of the earliest stoppers after 4 laps. He's just run 5 and had to pit again. And so there's 4 laps to go for the leaders right now. They're going to have to take on board an extra 3 or 4 laps of fuel at the back end of this one, by the looks of things. So, yeah, that would probably make this an in-lap for Joshua Fitz. It's definitely going to make it an in-lap for Adam Jepson, because there's a chunk of damage. Yeah, to more than the aerodynamics based on how that gripped up as it came onto the road. Fitz from the lead, as does John Merritt, and I think we're going to see most of this field come in and take 3 laps of fuel to get them to the end. Is this a quick final stop from Chris Hen? Can he jump up and challenge and race leaders the rest of that field, please?
As well, if anyone has jumped that pit speed limit of 72 k's there, Chris Hen had a really good aggressive entry into pit lane, managed to pull it up. So he's got an eye on, and of course the exit, just as important. You jump on the gas, get excited to try and get out of pit lane as quickly as you can, and before you know it, you're over that 72k mark, and you're going to make another trip back down pit lane. So exit here just as important as the entry. Looks like everyone's getting the job done here, managing to make their way through. Should see the last of the Nissans into pit lane.
Still looking like 3 laps to go after this, but it could be close. These Nissans are significantly quicker, lapping 1:47.2 as the fastest lap of the race. As your leading Audi now ran 6 Audi laps into this race before they pitted. Albert's on the 4th lap of his stint. Super touch and go.
Very close.
Touch and go. I reckon they come up a lap short on this second stint if they don't go a further lap down to the outright prototype leaders, which they won't. So yeah, just keep an eye on how aggressively or not Albert, Connell, Brookfield, etc. Are driving it. The last lap for Albert was certainly right up there with the his fastest lap. Connell was maybe 8 or so tenths adrift of his personal best. So they're still lapping quickly in those Audis.
Looks like Merritt is making headway here on Joshua Fit. Gap down now to 1.6 seconds. So the race for the lead of the Nissan category is definitely far from won. As Merritt last lap around slightly slower, but that gap still has closed up.
The last lap includes the pit exit, so it's of very little use other than calculating their pit stop time and the speed on the out lap. But in that case, yeah, Merritt has gained most of the time through the pit stop and the out lap to get to 1.6 seconds back off the lead. Comes Connell and Albert, and it's a weird thing that the amount of laps they end up doing in this race is actually entirely dependent on the speed of the other class of cars.
Yeah, and that gap has extended, so I'm just wondering if Connell thinks he can save the 200 or 300 millilitres perhaps that he might need to make that extra lap. So he's a bit off his fastest pace. That gap's still now extending. It's now 3.7 seconds to him between himself and Bo Albert, both a little slower on that last lap around. So the numbers are going to be interesting. See what happens here. With 2 minutes 20 to go. I should say very dependent on where Joshua Fit ends up.
I tell you, I reckon this is 2 more laps. This is not white flag this time, right, from what I can tell. Coming through the final corner, Joshua Fit's not far from the finish line at all, where Barney has no white flag because we're doing lap times of 1 minute 47. There's still 1 minute 58. So we are going to take the white flag with 10 seconds left on the clock and then still have to complete another lap. And then the Audis after that, because Albert is not, from what I can tell, going to go a lap down to Joshua Fit in the remaining 2 laps that Joshua Fit has. If he does, that could save their bacon. Luke Turner's back on the lane because he's going to have to make this a 3-stop race from how early he was forced to stop with that damage. Everyone else in these Nissan GTPs would be fueled to get to the end in a 2-stop race.
Down to 1.46 now and closing again. So Merritt, yeah, is he going to have enough laps to get it done? Again, it's going to be touch and goes. Might not be able to get there in time to close the gap. As I was going to say, there's some lap traffic coming up again. Just another aspect they've got to deal with, particularly through the carousel. Gets underneath quite early, that's good for Merritt's chances here as the gap closes.
Work at this big track and the nature of the racing is Bo Albert has just crossed the start-finish line with 1 minute left on the clock. But in reality, for these guys, there's still 3.5 minutes of racing that they've got to make work, and the gap has closed. Albert to Connell. Connell taking a big chunk out as Bo Albert's pace has ballooned out to 2 seconds slower than it was previously. Underneath a second for the race lead. They are about to take the white flag, start the final lap, the final race of this wildcard round at Road America, and Merritt runs it out wide in the final corner, costs his momentum, coming to sort of crucial chances on this final lap.
Coming up to lap traffic as well. I'll get there as they get into turn 1, 2. So it's going to be a difficult one here for Merritt. He's going to have to push, but make sure he gets a better exit than that as he gets through turn 1 cleanly. Oh, no!
Leader Joshua Fitz into the 43 of Caleb Bellac, the Audi, and there's massive damage on Joshua Fitt. He was leading the race at the white flag, and now he's got huge damage. Merritt checks up. Christopher Henn comes from 3rd through into the lead of the race on the final lap.
That is unbelievable, and Bellac almost took out Merritt as well there as he was trying to bring that car to a stop. So he is still circulating around the track, but this now it absolutely closes up the lead of this race. But we've got a Bradbury situation on our hands here with Christopher Henn in the lead of this race.
Yeah, the Henn is in the Fox house in this one. As he swings through 3rd and 1st with the leaders getting checked up amongst the traffic. Lachlan Capel on that last lap, trying to fight his way forward, got a bit too much curb, lit up the rears and just jagged one of the tyre barriers. Henn's pushing on, and Merritt's had to check up a little bit, and I wonder if his fuel was just a little bit shorter. He had some of the shortest pit stops in this race, and he doesn't look like he is that able to fight. Connell's into the lead of the Audi class as well, as Bo Albert tries to cough and splutter his way to the checkered flag. So all changing in both categories on the final lap. That's what happened to Fit. Big check up from Merritt. Henn swooped at the opportunity, picked them off, and now out of the final corner he comes. Bradbury situation, like you said, the checkered flag is waiting for him, and he's going to take the wild card win at Road America.
What a finish. You wouldn't have put any money on that happening whatsoever. He's off into the grass, and in the background, Brookfield, I think it was, had to duck. Richard Brookfield in the Audi had to duck into pit lane from 3rd to get enough fuel to get himself home. So he didn't make it. Just waiting here to see if Jeff Connell's going to make it as well. Bo Albert struggling for fuel. The couple of dead Audis in pit lane. As Connell comes around through the final section. Bo Albert's still going, but very, very seldomly going. He is running out of fuel very fast.
Brandon Levin's catching him as well from third place. There's 4 seconds between them. Connell's now 8 seconds up. Albert has had to massively drop the pace, and Connell swallowed him up on this final lap as there was 10 seconds left on the clock when the outright leaders took the white flag. So it was oh so close to being 1 lap shorter if they were a little slower or their initial pit stops were a bit longer. But it's put these guys in a super challenging position. Levin got anything?
No, I reckon he's out. And the difficulty here is, of course, the track finishes uphill. He needs to have enough to get the car pushed up to the finish line. There's no downhill run that's going to do him any favours. You can see there in the background, he has got Brandon Levin just coming up behind him. Maybe he's done enough, but who has done enough? Jeff Connell has managed the fuel and got himself across the line despite that extra lap. And it looks like Bo Albert is going to get the job done. Maybe just managing things well enough until the gap got too close for comfort, and then getting across the line with Brandon Levin in P3.
Wow, positions changing on the final lap in both classes, and points on the line for the season-long Pro-Am Championship in Pro and Am. Hen in the outright Nissans doing some sick burnouts right now on the back straight, because he is very, very well pleased with himself. I don't think he saw himself on the top step of the podium until that final lap, and it all fell in his lap, if you will. Merritt in second, Hazeler also going through into third there from Flock. Leprake, the Am winner there again in the Eagle machine ahead of Brandon Grosh. Adam Funslow, Hamish Cleland, Daniel Fleming, Lachlan Capel, and Luke Turner, Jeffrey Wang, Adam Jepson, Ben Jeffrey, Joshua Fitt, Ben Holiday.
As we head into the Audis, we've got Jeff Connell, Bo Albert, and Brandon Levin as your podium getters. Richard Brookfield, they're just struggling with fuel at the end, bringing it home in fourth with Nick Wood in fifth. Then have a look, and it is Ian Jordan in sixth with Jordan Peter in seventh. Caleb Ballack in eighth with Sam Lehman in ninth. Macaulay Jones in 10th. Ben Pollock in 11th, and Seb Varndell not actually taking the grid, I think, but anyway, finishing in 12th. That is unbelievable as a finish to the race, and certainly not one that we would have put any money on at the start of the race, but a fantastic result.
Some deliberations going on because we've got another $20 Super Cheap Auto gift voucher to give out. We are deciding who made it super in Pro-Am, and
wow.
It's not a winner's award, but I tell you what, I feel like Christopher Hen made it pretty damn super.
It's I think it's the right choice. It's yeah, what a finish. I don't know what to say.
I mean, we've seen a lot of these races across all the categories, including the race you were in, just come down to who held their mettle and their nerve when, you know, it really all ramped up to these stadium grandstand finishes on the final lap. And for Christopher Hen to go from third to first when Luke Fitt sort of was too eager through the traffic, and John Merritt couldn't capitalize. Christopher Hen swooped from third to first and put on a great show, took the win, and he'll take a $20 Super Cheap Auto gift card as well.
Yeah,
Got a couple of our drivers to speak to as well. So I reckon we'll get to the Audi winning driver of Jeff Connell then, and boy oh boy, it's certainly even more challenging to calculate your fuel when you're not the outright class cars.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, that probably helped me a little bit at the end, because it sort of ruined the battle between me and Bo. Me having that stupid crash in the first one, because having to come from 7th, he got about 3 seconds ahead, and then we were smashing out pretty much the same times. So I was never going to catch him on pace with 3 seconds doing the same lap times as him. So I just started saving a little bit sooner. just in the hope there would be an extra lap, and sure enough there was. So yeah, if I was fighting him, I don't know if I would have saved, but it was more just that I knew he had me beat on pace, so I had to try something different that worked.
Yeah, Audi 90s treated you well a couple of times before, but last wildcard round of the season before you're back in the GT3.
Yeah, I need more of these wildcard rounds because I'm so slow in that Porsche. I haven't worked it out, so yeah, sort of screwed myself crashing tonight. Pretty rookie error, so yeah, I needed the points in this car because I'm struggling in that Porsche, especially now with the BOP as well. So yeah, it's going to be difficult in that. I don't think I'll keep the championship lead, but the race is a good fun anyway, and yeah, I'll give it a good shot.
Well, congrats on that race where it mattered, and just metering out all of your bickies to the checkered flag.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Cheers.
Jeff Connell, winner of that race there in the Audi, and I guess it's only fair if Scott Hasler is standing by to have a chat with him. You were happy to do it?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we'll bring Scotty into the booth. Scotty, good run for you, mate, in the race, difficult conditions.
Yeah, it was kind of just about keeping it clean. It wasn't maybe quite as chaotic as I thought it might have been with the speed difference between the Audis, but yeah, a lot of the top guys, run into some trouble today. So yeah, just tried to stay out of trouble as much as I can. At least in race 2. Race 1, I kind of did myself in a little at the start, but yeah, it was good fun.
Able to recover in race 2 despite the lack of that reverse top 10 as well, helping you out, but ran quite well. The Audis, a little difficult to drive in the cold. How did you fare in those first couple of laps, particularly with the cooling conditions in the Nissan?
It doesn't feel too bad. I actually found it was pretty grippy out of the pits, and I was finding that a lot in practice as well. I'm not sure if this is on the same time, like the current tire model, or whether it's a little bit different, or what's going on there. But it actually, yeah, it handles quite well in the cold. So it's yeah, a little bit different to most things I drive.
We saw as well a couple of drivers did struggle with the entry into pit lane, monitoring that 72k an hour speed limit as you head up into the hills, mate. How'd you find that?
Yeah, I don't know if you guys caught in race 1, but I had a bit of a moment with my teammate, and we were all kind of stacking up and yeah, a bit of contact and almost ended up in the wall. But so yeah, it's definitely an interesting entry when we're all yeah, kind of jostled for position there. And yeah, you just got to really keep an eye on it with no pit limiter. But yeah, managed to stay out of trouble. I'm not sure if anyone did get done, but it's definitely easy to do.
There were a couple there, mate. We might have seen what happened there. We may not. You'll just have to watch back and see. Obviously, a really strong result coming in third, up 2 positions. Just quickly, anyone you want to thank?
Yeah, big thank you to our sponsors, so FH Creative, the Pet Door Company, Toyo Sim, All Ports Gaming, and of course, Juiced Energy.
Fantastic, mate. A great result tonight. Well done.
Cheers, fellas.
And Dave, I see there we've got John Merritt waiting in the booth. I might leave that one to you to put to him, the conflict of interest in his drive tonight.
Oh, if I can find the right button, yeah, why not? Sean Merritt with a 6th and a 2nd joins us, and I don't think you're bored on that final lap of that final race.
No, I definitely wasn't bored. Maybe a little conservative out of turn 1, but credit Chris. Chris got through, and that was that. So I thought I was going to inherit the lead for a minute.
It would have been a mighty nice inheritance in the end. You had to fight for it to the end. Any little questions on the fuel there? I think you certainly were one of the more aggressive on the strategy from what I saw.
Yeah, I think I was 0-0-0 over the line, to be honest. So yeah, I sort of threw caution to the wind to try and catch up to Josh there, and commiserations, Josh was unlucky on the start of that last lap, but I was certainly running on the smell of an oily rag at the end there.
Well, yeah, reasonable results from you all around, and we'll see what this season of AusPass brings you in the back half of the championship still to come.
Yeah, no, look forward to it.
See you next week en français.
Thank you.
I don't know if that's... I'm not good with the actual French, but they just keep coming by. So how about Christopher Hen, because he'll be a pretty happy fella. You can have a chat with him.
Chris, good to speak to you again after a while, mate. It brings back memories of one Stephen Bradbury there, mate. Obviously not taking anything away from a race well driven, but you must have been pinching yourself after turn 1 on that final lap when you made it through. And to be honest, in our opinion, you made it super.
Yeah, thanks, Stu. Yeah, that was a case of arse beats glass, wasn't it? So yeah, I just saw the smoke and thought the cars were wide. I just assumed that John was involved in the accident, so came out of there and thought, oh, the cars are off to the side, it's fine. But yeah, after watching it back, it was a lot more going on. So I think I definitely got lucky there. I was reasonably happy with the drive in the race, but didn't quite have the pace of the front guys to stick with them consistently. But yeah, I'll certainly take it. But I kind of feel bad for John really, because he was super cautious, and yeah, I got a bit lucky.
Yeah, well, John was just saying to us in the other interview that he was a little tight on fuel as well. So he did everything he could, mate. So take nothing away from that final lap that you got across the line there. Other than that, the race itself, yeah, only in terms of how the car went and how you drove throughout the race, did you really do anything different? You were always planning on sort of just managing to try and keep pace with the leaders, or as part of the strategy?
Yeah, that was really the plan. Just to at the first stop, there was just enough time there to do tyres with the fuel, so I ran the tank down as much as I could in the first stop, put some tyres on, thought that might help me a bit towards the end as well, just to get a bit more grip on the car. And I don't know if it really made much difference to the other guys there, but at least allowed me to keep pace. And yeah, traffic didn't quite play too well for me through the race, so that kind of took away a little bit on me from just being able to keep that gap close enough. But yeah, like I was pretty happy overall. 1 or 2 very minor mistakes, but overall, yeah, went quite well.
And Magna Core next week, heading off to have a croissant. What your expectations there?
Yeah, a track that I haven't really done too many laps at, even in previous games. I know some of the other ILEC boys have raced it in many games in the past, but it's still a bit foreign to me. So I think it's going to be an unknown. So I have to get a few practice laps under my belt in the next few days. But it is a cool track. I've done probably 10 or 15 laps there just to get my eye in. But yeah, it's certainly going to create some good racing, I think, with some of those kind of sweeping corners and then into the tighter corners to kind of make dive passes and things. So I think it'll produce good racing, and yeah, looking forward to it.
Looking forward to being back in the usual equipment as well, back into the GT3s for the remainder of the season. Christopher Hen, thank you very much. And of course, as I said, our choice tonight for making it super with that last grass win there, thanks to Super Cheap Auto, there is a $20 voucher heading your way.
Fantastic. Thank you very much, Stu. Much appreciated. And thanks to Super Cheap Auto.
So there you go, boys. Another night done in the simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. Thanks to simrigs.com, Excellence Racing, of course, Super Cheap Auto, Echuca Toyota, and Index Designs as well. David, that was a big one.
Yeah, absolutely. They certainly delivered some action on the opening laps of all of those races, but they saved just some for some very, very exciting final lap battles and really, really great action. Again, at simrigs.com Oz Pro-Am Sim Series. On special this week at Super Cheap Auto, Valvoline Diesel Injector 2-pack is marked down from $25 to $14.99. I don't have any diesel injectors that need any cleaning, but that comes in underneath $20, so I'm sure some people are going to have to give that some careful consideration. We're back next week for Manucore in those GT3 cars, as you said, and we will see you then. Thanks for joining us for round 5, the wildcard round from Road America on SimSpeed.
So you do like it?
I love it,
Yeah.
Now when you go pre-owned, you can enjoy the same feeling you get with a new Toyota. Tested and backed by Toyota.
Upgrade your car, mate. This? Yeah, no big deal.
Toyota certified. Pre-owned in a class of its own. Oh, what a feeling. Toyota.